let's talk about designing your life, specifically the book, Designing Your Life. It's a book that I tried to read a year ago. I thought it was too boring and I just chucked it, so didn't finish. And over the weekend, just thought, you know what, let me give this a second chance. And I read the book in 2 days, and you know what, kind of useful. So I thought I would just talk about, is it worth getting this book? What are the lessons? So if you don't want to read it, what did I find really meaningful? And then hopefully after that, you can decide whether or not you want to read it. So let's talk about designing your life. Start where you are, which is obvious. Where else can you be? But understanding what the actual problem is. And when it comes to our lives, we tend to have sometimes anchor problems where we focus on things that we really can't change and we treat them as the problem. You can't change gravity. You can't change the laws of physics. You can't change the market salary for an artist because that's where it's set at. So you have to understand what problems are actionable. What can you actually control? What is within the realm of possibility for you? And once you can identify that problem, it's the ability to reframe that problem and understand it. The second key step is building a compass. And that comes down to defining your work view and defining your life view. So figuring out, what is your work view? Why do you work? What gives you meaning when you work? What inspires you to work? What makes you happy to work? And life view is just even deeper than that. Why are we here? And what is the purpose of your life? What is the meaning of your life? And then understanding, how does your work view combine with your life view? And putting these two things on paper, first of all, writing them down and then putting them together is what creates your compass. And this is where you can point due north and you have some direction in your life, because we can imagine our dream job, but sometimes it's just a desire without really understanding why it is that we want it. Why does it align with our views on life? And it's once we understand why we work and understanding why we live that we can figure out what makes a dream job and what makes us happy. The third key is wayfinding. And this is an exercise that I haven't done yet in the book, but I'm going to test it out. And that's basically cataloging what happens in your life. So it's first to figure out what happens during your day and how you feel about it. So we all know about this idea of a state of flow, this experience where we're so into the activity that we're doing that time just stands still, that we don't care about our surroundings. We are so engaged. And sometimes it's just a matter of writing down and cataloging and having a journal for what they have a word for it. They call the good time journal exercise. And distilling that could give you an understanding of what it is that you enjoy most, because most jobs have things that we love and things that we hate. And sometimes we think that we hate the job, whereas the reality is we just hate certain aspects of the job. And understanding that can help us understand, well, maybe I could just get rid of these elements or figure out ways of how to minimize these meetings or minimize my interactions with these people. Step 4 is getting unstuck. And I think this was my favorite chapter. So to get unstuck, you basically have to ideate. And this is where they have developed this exercise called mind mapping. So it's basically just an aggressive generation of ideas. You grab a piece of paper, you look at your good time journal, look at the activities that energize you, that put you in a state of flow, taking those pieces out, the things that you enjoy most, putting that idea on paper, and then just actively doing mind association word game. So if you love going for walks and you put down going for walks and you start doing associations with hiking and travel and exercise and fitness, and then using all those associations without any judgment, without any care about how it relates to the original topic. The point is not to be precise and pristine. The point is just to be as creative and open-minded as possible. Part 5 is designing your Odyssey. In essence, it's about creating alternative lives. The point being is that we live many lives. We don't just live one. And there's no such thing as a right answer when it comes to existence, because existence is not a destination. Life is not a destination, it's a journey. And We live many lives, and so to fully take advantage of these many lives, it's worth it for us to create alternatives and to create three possibilities. And in those three possibilities, write the things that inspire us, the things that we want to do, and they could be very different directions. Life one, which is the thing that you do, whatever career you have now, write about how you can make it better. Life two, that thing that you do if option one was not available. So if tomorrow you were to wake up and find out that your job is gone, it's been eliminated, you cannot get another job like this, what would you do? What does it look like? What are the steps that you have to take to get there? And three, which is the fun one, which is what kind of a life, what would you do if money and image was not an object? If it was completely irrelevant, money didn't matter, your image didn't matter, what would you do? And map that out. Number 6, prototyping. Designers don't just think about the problem and figure out just a solution. They create many solutions. They create many prototypes. They create, refine, and that way they get to the best possible outcome. And that's what this book is suggesting, is that if you have a direction that you want to go into, test it out. And sometimes we get scared of trying something new because it's an investment. We are either investing time or investing money. We're afraid of making the wrong choice. And sometimes it's just worth it to just experiment. So for example, if what you really want to do is that you dream of opening up a coffee shop, in order to prototype, what you do is you test it out. Maybe get a part-time job working at a cafe to see what the work culture is like. Make some friends, talk to some people who own cafes, figure out what it is that they enjoy about their job, figuring out the challenges. The thing that I found interesting about prototyping is that they really encourage brainstorming. And this book is really meant to be read in a group setting, which I think is very clever, because once you have other people involved, it creates this accountability. And you know you can't just quit because other people are doing it at the same time. So when it comes to prototyping, you're creating these ideas for how to test out the life that you want or the solutions that you want. So you get together, you frame the right question. It can't be too broad. It can't have the solution in it, because sometimes when we think of the problem, and I liked what this book said, is that we sometimes put the solution into our problem without realizing it. So an example would be, you think, okay, I'm going to start a nonprofit and I need $15 million. And the goal really is that you're trying to figure out how to help solve homelessness. And you think, okay, I need to do a nonprofit, requires $15 million. Well, you're already putting the solution in there, the idea that you need a nonprofit with a $50 million budget, but there are other ways to do it. There are other solutions. So we sometimes limit ourselves by picking a very specific solution and blocking all the other possibilities that could help us. Then we have the brainstorming itself, which is very similar to mind mapping in the fact that there is a value of quantity over quality. Brainstorming is basically when you frame the problem, you put it up for everyone to see, and you do this with a group, and then people just start throwing out as many ideas as possible. Wild ideas are encouraged, stupid ideas are encouraged. Again, it's quantity, as much as you can with no judgment. That's the most important thing, is do not judge your ideas. Do not judge the ideas of others. Just get it all out there as much as possible. And then the last step, and the most important step, is to look at the ideas, categorize, narrow them down, and then vote and choose one. Chapter 7 and 8 were interesting because they feel like they're almost a separate book. They're very job search focused. Chapter 7 is specifically about doing the traditional job application route. So going online, looking for job postings and applying. And the book has a bunch of different tips for how to apply for jobs. And then chapter 8 is about tapping the hidden job market. The book really focuses on this principle that we only see 20% of the jobs that are available. 80% of the jobs are hidden. So these are positions that really you have to get to know someone, to network, to get. And that's what the book really encourages, which is something that, I'll be honest, I've never been a fan of networking. And the book really pushes you to reframe your mentality around networking, because they know that networking is kind of seen as a dirty word for some people. I never liked networking. I've never gotten a job for networking, but networking works, and it's actually not about trying to weasel your way into a job, but sometimes it's just a matter of understanding what you want. It's this prototyping element that sometimes you just want to connect with people who are in the position that you want to understand why it is that they love their job, to understand why it is that they love the company that they work for. So to network, not for the intent of getting something for yourself, but to network to get just a general understanding, to learn about a position, to be curious. Chapter 9 is about choosing happiness, and they have a really nice roadmap for that. What's great about this chapter is that it really hones in on the psychology of humans and the reality of the fact that options can sometimes paralyze us. And when we have so many options in front of us, we end up being unhappy. And when we are picking a life direction, we have a tendency to think that we have to pick the right path, that there's a right answer, there's a right choice, there's only one right career for us, but that's really not the case. And the point of life and the point of this book is just to constantly be designing and realigning your goals, to realize that once you go through all these exercises, once you go through different options of what you want to do, and you map it out and you narrow it down, and again, maybe it's not a full-time job that you're looking for, maybe it's a problem that you're trying to solve, and you pick out those solutions, and then you're left agonizing over that solution, which is what we're always stuck with. And it could be a specific problem at work that we are so stressed out about picking the right thing, and we choose something, and then after we choose it, we spend so much time thinking about whether or not it was the right decision. And that's where the book says, stop it. It says, pick it and then just move the fuck on. You do not need to sit and think about it over and over again. If that is what you picked, go ahead, try it out. And that's where prototyping works, where you go ahead and start experimenting with it and see how you like it. And sometimes you just have to dive right in, because the reality is like, maybe in 5 years, you're gonna be somewhere else. Chapter 10 is about failure immunity, and that's basically accepting failure. Failure is a very good part of life. Failure is what teaches us. The more that we fail, the smarter we become, the wiser we become, the more that we learn. So to become more resilient is really a key part of designing your life, to go ahead and choose the options that you found and then try them and then fail and then keep doing that. Because by doing that, you start to learn a lot. The person who grows the most is the person who's failed the most. And it's just a very inspirational chapter, and I like it. Chapter 11 is on building your team, which is going back to this principle of the fact that you should not be doing this book alone. It's good to do it with friends. It's good to find people in your life who are also designing their life and who are also reading this book. So the point is to find other people who would read this book, so clever marketing, and to get together and do these brainstorming sessions. And again, it doesn't have to be about a career, but I do think that this book is good for finding a career.